All right, today we're going to build a mobile jib crane. So here's the AutoCAD drawing I created for this mobile jib crane. And you can see the part numbers for the main components that I'm going to add to the jib crane. It needs to be mobile because we're going to use it up on the roof of our commercial office building for maintenance and repair of HVAC equipment. So it needs to be wide enough to straddle the roof hatch opening. Here's a caster set that I bought from Zorro. Not a paid promotion, just what we used. They're 8-inch casters, 2 swivel, 2 fixed. Here's the brake winch hoist. Has a built-in brake when you raise or lower a load. $124 on Amazon. That ain't too bad. Comes with the cable and the hook. Here's the products I'm going to be using. Cable lube, primer to prime the frame, and this enamel gray paint to paint it. Got my labels and the front pulley. So got the metal cut and delivered from the local metal supply house, and I got my AutoCAD drawing here. I like to label everything. Makes it quicker and easier for fabrication. We're going to wear PPE. So I'm going to start by cutting out all the gussets that I need. We don't have a press brake or anything else. I'm just going to use my grinder with a cutoff wheel. So you have everything labeled. It's all mild carbon steel. I'm going to start by making the cross braces and write down some measurements. Get everything square and even and marked first on these mounting plates for those cross braces and for the center mast. Then I'm going to center punch where I need to drill holes. And again, this is for the center mast I'm doing now. I'm going to have some larger gussets for that, obviously. Just kind of look at that, see where everything needs to go, where the bolts will go, where the holes for the bolts need to be. Right about there. And then I'll just simply transfer that measurement to the other side. I want to say all in on this project, it was right under $1,000 for parts, materials, etc. And this here is going to be a lifting bracket. We got to replace one of the compressors on our chiller. So that's what this is going to be for. Basically going to weld a lifting eye to this, or lifting link. We got the drill press. I like to pre-drill my pilot holes with a small drill bit and then go back and use a larger drill bit to drill my final diameter hole. And always make sure you secure your work with a C-clamp or something. I'm putting a little bit of lubricant on the drill bit to help facilitate the process. And then I like to clean off the swarf as I'm going along, whether you blow it off or sweep it away. And I'll switch to the final dimension drill bit that we need. And again, these are the mounting plates or mounting flanges that will get welded to the cross members, the square tubing cross members, and those will get bolted to the legs with grade 8 hardware. So drill press comes in handy for this kind of work where you got multiple pieces. Next, we got everything drilled. We got to wipe off and clean off any oil or grease, dust, dirt. I'm just going to clean up my holes. And then next, I'm going to take my grinder and grinding wheel and grind off all the mill scale You get a better quality weld if you grind off that mill scale first. So you're welding on clean parent material. And I am wearing a respirator and a face shield. On to the welding process. I'm going to start here by tack welding this square tubing, this piece of plate or flat bar. Just trying to get it level and square, even on both sides. Take these little magnetic squares work great. They're helpful. We're just using a little 120 volt wire feed MIG welder. This is actually flux core wire. There's no inert gas for this. If I remember correctly, it's 0.035 diameter wire. Lincoln Electric flux core. Now we'll go ahead and clean this up. There it is, all cleaned up. Not too bad for a little wire feed welder. You can see we got good heat penetration on the other side of that flat plate. Now I need to go ahead and weld on the mounting plates for the casters. And you'll notice these plates are offset to one side. That's on purpose. Because again, like I said, this little jib crane has to straddle the roof hatch opening. So we don't want anything to hit that roof hatch curb. Next, we're moving on to the mast and the short boom. Got to make this 45-degree gusset out of some square tubing to help support the mast and the boom, or the boom rather. And I put a slight bevel on that square tubing so it's not just a straight butt weld. And here at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and weld on the mounting flange and the gussets to the mast. And I like to tack everything together first, make sure everything stays square and plumb. And then once I start doing my final welds, I like to flip-flop back and forth from side to side to try to evenly distribute the heat, so I'm not putting all the heat just on one side. I'm going to make this other 45-degree gusset that's going to be welded to the back side of the mast. And this will also have a mounting plate welded to the other side of it that will bolt to one of those cross beams. So we'll get that tacked on. Then I'll check it for level and plumb, make sure everything looks square, that nothing's crooked. Yeah, it's a little off, so I'm going to redo that tack weld. Yeah, that looks better. Then we can tack it in place. Then I'll check it again. I want these plates to stay parallel to each other. And same thing, we'll tack it together. All right, now we can go on and do our final welds. When you're welding, you want to make sure you work in a well-ventilated space or have an exhaust fan going. And again, I strongly recommend using one of those welding respirators to protect your lungs. So we do a rough assembly, get all the major components fabricated, weld it together. So now we're just going to line everything up and see how well everything bolts together now. Just trying to get everything square. And again, we're using grade 8 hardware and lock nuts. So next, what I'm marking here is to drill the holes for those mounting flanges to bolt to these cross members, or to the legs, excuse me. So the two legs can bolt to the two cross members. And same thing, I'm using a smaller drill bit, a little bit of oil, cutting oil, and then I'll step up to my larger drill bit. And this was obviously too big to clamp in our drill press. Let's check it out. Looks like that's going to work. So again, these casters, instead of drilling holes and using bolts and nuts, I'm simply going to weld the mounting plate on the caster to the mounting plate on the legs. I've done this in the past, it works well, a lot quicker and easier. All I did is I just grinded or sanded off the black paint off of the caster mounting plate. And I was worried about the rubber tires possibly getting some welding slag or little welding BBs hitting it, but the tires ended up perfectly fine. Didn't need to cover those. You can see they're in good shape. And then I wrapped a wet, damp rag around the bearings just to cool them down. So I primed and painted them. Let them dry for 24 hours. I also need to paint that little bracket. So the cable winch is the last thing that showed up. I'm going to use this gusset and this mounting plate to mount the winch to. And these will get welded to the back corner of the mast and the little boom here. Kind of see how I want to do that. Get everything evenly spaced and we'll tack it in place. Looks good. And then obviously once I'm done welding this on, I'll spot paint that gusset and that plate to match the frame. Yeah, that cable winch, it took several weeks to show up. I was surprised how long it took. Sometimes when you buy things on Amazon, you never really know. And then you can see I'm alternating from side to side to try to more evenly distribute the heat from the weld. Okay, now I'm going to place the winch up here, just kind of get it lined up and centered. And same thing, I got two options. I can bolt it on, drill more holes, or I can simply weld the mounting plate to the mounting plate that I welded onto the jib crane. That's what I'm going to do. And what I did, you can't see on camera, is I put a small plate over the cable to protect it. Here's the final result. Woo! All bolted together. Now I need to do a load test. And ideally you want to do for 15 minutes roughly static load test at 125% of the rated capacity of the crane. And then here's a certificate that I generated showing the date that the test was completed. and that we checked for fatigue cracks in the welds in the metal. There wasn't any. There was no deflection or bend. Frame members, nothing failed. So we passed our static load test. I'll go ahead and take this up to the roof. So up here on the roof, we can do our final assembly. Obviously, I had to unbolt it to get it up through the roof hatch. And again, all grade 8 hardware, lock nuts, washers. So you can see it's a pretty simple setup. And when we roll this on the roof, you can see the roof has gravel and river rock. The tires could roll over that, but it's going to be a little bit challenging to do that. So we're just going to put down some wood planks, like some wood plywood, to allow the jib crane to roll on the wood plywood. One of the last things I need to install is this headache ball. It's basically like a little 10-pound weight on the end of the cable down near the hook. And it's made of lead, so I'm wearing gloves, and you can see I did paint it and prime it, so we're kind of encapsulating or sealing the lead. Yeah, perfect, works. And again, these brake winches, they come in different lengths, different capacities. There's a final result ready to go. I hope this was helpful. Now I'd like to tell you about a practical facilities maintenance handbook, available now in ebook and paperback format. It has common facilities documents, signage, tags, resource and training material, as well as common shop equipment drawings that you can use to fabricate shop equipment for your facility. The link for this book is in the video description below. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.